On the 15th of November, the climate change track of the minor disruptive events went on a study trip to Evia in Greece. Evia is the second largest island and is located north of Athens. The island dealt with a big forest fire in the summer of 2021. Evia deals with forest fires every year, but this one was worse than normally. In total, 250 hectares burned down. The students visited Vasilika, a small village in the north of Evia. During the visit, the students spoke with a few local people and the mayor of Istiaia, where Vasilika is a part of. 50% of this municipality was burned down, but the fire actually started in a neighboring municipality. The spreading could take place because of the policy around forest fires changed. Because of the fire near Athens, the policy changed to evacuating people instead of fighting the fire. Local people know how to deal with the fires since they happen every year, but they are evacuated and then nobody was left to fight the fires. Because of this change in policy, the people who wanted to stay literally had to fight the firefighters to have a chance to stay. The locals saved all the churches, but there was not enough manpower to save also the houses and to put out the fire. We spoke to Elena, whose house burned down. She knew her house was at risk because it's in a valley and surrounded by forests, so it was too risky to stay and fight the fire. Still, it was really emotional to leave in that moment, and she and her family did not take a lot of stuff with them. For example, there were leftovers of the piano, bikes and the kitchen when we visited the site. The students went on a walk with Elena and another local through the burnt forest. In the beginning of the walk, we all looked at the forest as something beautiful because we have never seen this. But during the walk, we saw our guides getting really emotional. It was the first time that they came back since the forest fires. For them, it was heartbreaking to see the beautiful green forest burned down. The fire also affected the animals living in the forest. For example, before the fire there were living a lot of birds in the forest, but when we visited the site, it was completely silent. And also, during our walk, we saw a burnt turtle. But there's also a bit of hope, because nature was already restoring itself and plants already started to grow again in the area. The students also spoke with Paul. His house was actually saved by the helicopters. He mentioned that after the fire was put out above the ground, the helicopters kept coming back to put out the fire that was smoldering underground. This smoldering causes the ground to get less stable because the tree roots can't hold the ground anymore. Especially with the heavy rain that came after the fires, some of the roads and the bridges have been wiped away. Besides the emotional destruction, there's also an economic consequence to this forest fire. In Evia, a lot of people earn money by collecting hash from the trees. A lot of these trees are burned down, so the people don't have any work anymore. The mayor is afraid that a lot of those people will move to the bigger cities for work now. He thought about giving them government support so they could stay until the forest was regrown. But this is not an effective solution, since this work is taught to the next generation. By giving the people government support, the next generation won't get to learn this tradition and the tradition will die down. Also, the olive groves were burned down during the fire. A few of the students spoke to someone who was helping his cousin to cut down burnt olive trees and replanting them as soon as possible. He told us that it can take up to 20 years before the olive trees are grown completely and produce a large amount of olives. To rebuild the burnt area, a development plan was put in place by the mayor. He explained that they were not planning on replanting the forest, but they will focus on other projects that will make the area more attractive and more resilient to inhabitants and tourists again. Beside this, we also made a lot of fun. We spent our first day in Athens, where we did some night exploring and visited Acropolis. In Evia, we went on a lot of road trips and did some horse riding. And we experienced great hospitality from the people in Basilica. 2 restaurant owners cooked for us, and one night we joined at Nick's house for dinner. And we did a lot of other fun stuff. We would like to thank all the people we met for their great hospitality and for being so open about their experiences, and just for making us feel so welcome in Basilica. Thank you all.